Hi, it's Steph, and I'm at Lowe's, and they still have lots of shrubs and some new trees for some live fencing and hedging options, and there's even some end of season clearance. So let's go ahead and take a look at the end of September inventory at Lowe's. Starting with these beauties here, this is an upright evergreen, and in a last video that I made here at Lowe's, someone had brought to my attention that this particular type of view is not attractive to deer. So that is actually really exciting because I really love the shape of these. And in general, I had been staying away from yew plants because I have lots of deer in my garden. But these are a variety of yew called a Japanese plum yew. So they're different than the Texas variety. So I thought that was really interesting, and I was really grateful for that comment. So I love when you guys comment on my videos. Sometimes you also teach me some things that I wasn't aware of, which is awesome. So here we have this Monrovia upright Japanese plum yew. It likes partial sun. It's a multi-season beauty. These are Monrovia, so they're a little bit pricier at $49.98. And it looks like this one here gets to be about 8 feet wide and 10 feet tall. So it grows kind of in a columnar shape. It says that it slowly forms a broad upright shrub, and it is hardy in zone 6 through 9 or down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a real pretty one. And this one here is a spreading variety, so it's going to have more of a vertical growth habit. And this is called a Japanese plum yew spreading, and it also likes full to partial sun. These are $79, so a little bit more. And these look to be, I think it's a 3 to 5 gallon container. I'll take a look at that. And this one here gets to be how big? It says that it slowly reaches 2 to 3 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. It is hardy in zone 6 through 9 or down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's check out the size on this container. This is a 3.58 gallons, so 3.5 gallons. And here is a plant that when you look quickly, looks like it's a boxwood, but it's actually a holly. And I'm going to show you a comparison, and so you can see up close how similar they look. So here we have a compact Japanese holly. So these are all Monrovia plants. In fact, my store has a good amount of Monrovia plants. My guess is because these are a little bit higher price point, and so they don't sell quite as fast as the Lowe's brand containers in the black pots, which they don't have a lot of in stock at the moment. But back to this Monrovia holly here. This one is a part sun or full sun shrub. It's great for hedges, so you can use this as a hedging option as well. Sometimes people don't like the fragrance on boxwood, so this would be a good alternative. And it says that it has a naturally dense rounded form. So look at that. And this particular shrub gets to be about 2 feet wide by 2 feet tall. And it is hardy in zone 6 through 9 or down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And these are $49.98, and they look to be maybe a 2 gallon, 1.73 gallons. Right on the side of it, you have a green velvet boxwood, which is one of the really popular varieties of boxwood. And this would be a great time in the fall to plan out a hedge of these, and then you can wait until spring to shape them. Whether you want to share them into a hedge or shape them into a topiary or a ball or sphere shape, that would be a great time to do it. So these green velvet boxwood are full or partial sun. Boxwoods are one of those plants, the evergreens, that can actually take a bit of shade. They are great for hedges. This particular one is $74, so it looks like it's a 3.5 gallon container. And they get to be about 4 feet wide by 4 feet tall, so they would be great for hedging. And they are hardy in zones 4 through 9 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. But let's go ahead and compare the foliage on a boxwood with the holly that we just looked at. You can barely tell them apart. So this is the holly, and this is the boxwood. So very, very similar in foliage and in habit. Some Japanese maples, and if you've been around my channel for any length of time, you know that I absolutely love Japanese maples. I actually have a collection of them, and this one is a really popular variety called the Sangokaku, also more commonly known as the coral bark Japanese maple. And this one has really beautiful winter interest with the coral bark. So even when you lose all of this foliage, you'll have some beautiful coral colored bark to look at throughout the winter. The coral bark Japanese maple likes full or part sun. In general, the lighter the foliage, the less sun it can handle. So if you have one that leans a bit more yellow, you want to provide it some part shade. But this one here, I have seen planted in full sun and it seems to do just fine, especially in colder zones. So here I'm in zone 6, so these can do well with a little bit more sun. It says it has dramatic fall color. This one here is in a 3.5 gallon container for $99, and it gets to be about 25 feet tall and 20 feet wide, and it is hardy in zones 5 through 8 down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. These are really easily pruned too, so if you needed to size control them, you can prune them and they do just fine. Here we have some first edition shrubs, and these are some arborvitae that look like they also grow in a rounded or sphere type growth habit. So this here is just called, it's a planet Earth arborvitae. And you can see that really pretty round shape. So something like a boxwood, you'd have to shape it in order to get this sphere habit. But these types of evergreens, like this arborvitae, will naturally grow in that type of shape, which is really nice. So this arborvitae has a perfectly rounded, dense habit without any shearing. It thrives in warm and cold temps. So let's see, it is hardy in zones 4 through 8. It likes full sun with green foliage and medium water needs, and it gets to be 3 to 5 feet in height and in width. And these are a number 2 gallon container for $29.98. They have a really pretty chartreuse color green. Another really pretty shrub with dark foliage that will provide some beautiful interest in your garden is a 9-bark. And what I really like about this one is that it has actually pretty large foliage for a 9-bark, at least a little bit bigger than the one that I currently have in my garden. I have a summer wine 9-bark, and the leaves are just a little bit smaller than this one, but really beautiful dark foliage, and then the newer growth is a little bit lighter. And I like the tags on these first edition plants. It says green is the new black. So this is a fireside 9-bark. You can see how fiery red that new growth is. So really pretty. And this one here is a full sun shrub, deep red to purple, needs medium water, and it is hardy in zones 3 through 7, and it gets to be 5 to 7 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide. Drought tolerant once established. So any new plant is going to need water until it gets established, and then after that, if it is drought tolerant and it's been in your landscape for a little while, it can then go a little bit longer between waterings. But that's a really pretty one. And these are 2 gallons for $27.98. And here's another beauty with some dark foliage. This is a crepe myrtle, and I didn't even know that we could grow crepe myrtles here in my zone 6 until last year, and now I see them everywhere. So this variety here is also by First Editions. It is called the Ruffled Red Magic Crepe Myrtle. It is a shrub that you can also train into a tree. So this one looks like, see, a lot of times plants companies will do this. They'll put more than one in a container to make the plant look fuller. I'm pretty certain that there's probably 2 in here, but in general you can find these and train them into a single trunk or a multi-trunk tree. I think these look really pretty as a multi-trunk. And so this variety, the Ruffled Red Magic, has carnation-like glowing red flowers that show beautifully against the dark green foliage, and it looks like the foliage turns orange red in fall, so it would have fall interest, which is really nice. It likes full sun, it has medium water needs, and it is hardy in zones 7 through 9. So that actually just brings up my point. I'm in a zone 6, and this is rated to a zone 7. So this, if I planted this shrub in my garden, it would be questionable as to whether or not it comes back next year, depending on how cold our winter is this year. So that's always something that's important to pay attention to. Know your gardening zone so that you are making an informed decision when you purchase the plant. So it does say that it is deer resistant, which would be excellent in my garden, and it gets to be 9 to 12 feet in height and 7 to 9 feet in width. So again, can be a large shrub or trained into a small tree. And these here are $49.98. And some Weigela, and this Weigela here is by Proven Winners, and these are some small containers. So these look like they're 1 gallons for $16.98. What I love about these 1 gallon sizes is that, number 1, they're really easy to plant because they have a pretty small root ball. Number 2, they are a lot more affordable, and these smaller plants grow so much faster, I feel like, once you plant them in your garden. So this here is a really pretty one. And what's good about this particular variety of Weigela Weigela, the Wine and Roses, there's two different ones here. So there's a Wine and Roses, which I'll show you. I actually have this one in my garden. So the Wine and Roses Weigela is a larger full-size Weigela. So this one here likes full sun. It is hardy in zones 4 through 8. It gets to be 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. It needs 5 to 6 foot spacing. So mine is already full size and it's probably about 4 to 5 years old. And it blooms in late spring with these really beautiful dark or pretty bright, I would say they're pretty bright, pink blooms. They're like trumpet shaped, really pretty. They show up just about the same time that the hummingbirds start coming in. So this is a good size one for like the middle to the back of the border, the Wine and Roses. But then you have this newer variety, which is called Spilled Wine, which has very similar features. It also has the dark foliage and these really pretty dark pink bell-shaped or trumpet-shaped blooms. But the cool thing about this one is that it's more dwarf in size. It's a smaller one, and it actually is sort of like a ground cover, like a rambler. So this one here, you can see in the photo there how it's more compact and lower to the ground. This one is the perfect fit for your landscape, wider than it is tall, and it is deer resistant. So it's a sun shrub, hardy in zones 4 through 8 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and it gets to be 2 to 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide, and it is low growing. So this is great if you have a smaller garden space and you want to add some dark foliage with these spring blooms. This would be a good option. And if you have more space, you could go for the Wine and Roses, but both of them have the same type of foliage color and bloom. A couple more proven winner shrubs, and we'll start with this one here, which I'm always attracted to shrubs with berries, and I'm still working on adding more to my garden. I actually have the Pearl Glam Beauty Berry that's getting ready to bloom, and then it'll set its beautiful purple berries, and now I'm looking for a winterberry that'll be pretty compact. So let's check this one out. The Little Goblin Red Winterberry Holly provides winter color. And this shrub here likes sun or part shade. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And it gets to be 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. So that's a great size. Now, the thing to note about any type of shrub that holds berries, in most cases, they do need a pollinator. So here you can see that the Little Goblin Red Winterberry Holly needs the female Little Goblin So the Little Goblin needs Guy Holly as a pollinator. So this particular one would need a Guy Holly planted somewhere within 50 to 100 feet in order for it to pollinate this shrub and for it to get berries. So I thought that was a really cool fact about berry-bearing plants when I was a newer gardener. So this one here is a 2-gallon for $25.98. And right beside it, they have a holly, another Japanese holly that is called Skybox. Now, the Skybox grows in a taller growth habit. So you can see there that it can be shaped into a topiary. So this one here likes sun or part shade. It is hardy in zones 6 through 8 or down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And it gets to be 4 to 5 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide. It is a foliage plant and evergreen. And these are a, 2-gallon for $27.98. And some North Pole arborvitaes. So this is an arborvitae by Proven Winners. Now, I don't know if these are deer resistant, but I would love to know because I really love the compact growth habit of them. Now, if I look at the foliage, it does look very similar to a green giant. And I know that green giant is a more deer resistant variety. So tell me, if you grow the North Pole arborvitae in your garden and you deal with deer, do you find them to be deer resistant? Let us know in the comments below. So here, the North Pole arborvitae by Proven Winners. Look at that beautiful configuration there. I love the columnar or the vertical interest they provide, and they're stunning in a grouping like that. So it says that they are fast growing. They have a narrow pyramidal form, ideal as a specimen or in a privacy screen. They like sun. They are native, evergreen, and fast growing, and they are hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. 10 to 15 feet tall, 3 to 5 feet wide. That is perfect size if you have a smaller garden or just want to tuck some evergreens into your landscape. These would even be wonderful in a container for a couple of years. By a garage or front door. So these here are 2 gallons for $25.98. Another beauty is a smoke bush. So I added one of these to my garden 2 years ago now, and I really love it. The new growth is gorgeous. Look at that. It also has a really pretty rounded leaf or foliage. Just a really pretty plant. So these are Monrovia. So they are, let's see how much. $49.98. But look at those beautiful blooms that they get in the summer, like these puffs of smoke that look pink. Really pretty. So this is an eye-catching accent type shrub. Now you can grow these as a large shrub or limit up into a multi-stem small tree. It has dramatic fall color, and they get to be 15 feet tall by 12 feet wide, and they are hardy in zones 4 through 8 down to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. And lots of evergreens for living fences or hedging options. They have some Leland cypress as well as some arborvitae. So let's take a look at a couple. The Leland cypress have a really pretty shape. They're really big trees though, so you have to make sure that you have plenty of space for these. So let's take a look at the Leland cypress. So these are full sun trees. The size that we're looking at here looks to be a 5 to 7 gallon, but I'll take a closer look. And they're $59.98. They get to be 50 feet in height and 15 feet wide, so pretty large. And they are hardy down to 0 degrees or zone 6 is what they're hardy through. And these are, like I said, pretty big trees. My neighbor across the street has a hedge of these, and they're absolutely beautiful. And they got large quick. So let's see what size containers these are. Okay, it doesn't say, but my guess is these are somewhere between a 5 and a 7 gallon, probably a 7 gallon. And in height, they're looking like they're probably out of the container. My best guess is that they're about 4 to 5 feet tall. And here is the green giant arborvitae, the one that I was talking about earlier being a more deer resistant variety. So if you deal with deer in your garden, this would be a good option over, say, something like the emerald green arborvitae. Now the emerald green has beautiful texture and it is a little bit more compact. This one here, the green giant, gets really large. But in my experience, the emerald green is, the deer do like to go after it. So they end up getting a bit misshapen because the deer will eat up to the point that they can reach. So something to keep in mind about if you deal with deer in your garden. So these are full sun. The green giant arborvitae is $59.98. These are a little bit smaller than the Lelands for the same price. They get to be 30 feet in height by 15 feet in width, and they are hardy down to -10 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 5. So these also look like they're rated 1 zone colder than the Leland cypress. But these are beautiful evergreens and pretty fast growing. And here are the emerald green arborvitae. They have a more dense texture, really nice, and they also like full sun. Now, something to note about arborvitaes, especially when they're newly planted, they like water. So make sure that if you're going to make the investment to plant a living fence, that you water them regularly to get them established. So these here are a little bit less at $43.98. The container looks maybe like a 5 gallon, and these are about, I would say about 4 feet tall. And what do they get to be? They get to be 15 feet in height and 4 feet wide. Hardy down to zone 3. So these are the hardiest of them all so far. -30 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, let's take a look at clearance. There are a half a dozen things or so that I want to show you that are really cool in here. Starting with this Blue Star Juniper. Now, I absolutely love Blue Star Juniper. They are a beautiful low-growing mounding type evergreen with this gorgeous blue-gray coloring, really pretty. Now, if I saw this on the clearance rack and they had a little bit of these brown branches, I wouldn't even worry about it. I would just go in here, cut these off, and this thing is going to be fine. You're going to plant it in the ground with some good soil, maybe some startup fertilizer. I can feel that it's moist, so it's been taken care of. But they're on sale. So let's see. These are by Monrovia, so you're going to get this really good size shrub. These are like a 2 gallon container for 50% off. So instead of $39.98, you'd pay $20 for this Blue Star Juniper. I have 3 of these, 3 or 4 of them in my garden. They've been there for about 10 years and they only get to be 3 to 4 feet in size and only about maybe 12 to 18 inches in height. So they are perfect evergreen for a front of a border. So these here are hardy in zones 4 through 8 or down to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. They slowly reach 2 to 3 feet tall, which mine did not get that high. They're only, like I said, 12 to 18 inches in height and 3 to 4 feet wide. That is accurate in my garden. Also, the deer don't touch them. So this is a great find on clearance, and they have about 6 of them here in my store. So of course this is going to vary by store, but it's a great reminder to start checking out the clearance racks at your stores for end of season clearance. Sometimes you can find some really good buys. Some more clearance shrubs, and these are Rose of Sharon. So they have the ruffled satin Rose of Sharon by Proven Winners, and this one likes sun, hardy in zones 5 through 9, and it gets to be 8 to 12 feet tall, 6 to 10 feet wide, and it blooms in summer. So these are late bloomers, which are wonderful to add to the garden for late season color. These were $39.98, so they would be 20 bucks. They also have the white chiffon. So the white chiffon Rose of Sharon gets to be 8 to 12 feet tall and 6 to 10 feet wide. It likes sun, it's long blooming and hardy in zones 5 through 9 or down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And look at that beautiful shrub. Look at that. This one actually still has some buds on it. Now we're getting late in the season, so will they open? Nope, they're done. I think they're done, but it's still setting a couple. This one's definitely a bud right here. This one's a bud. So we're going to get a nice week next week. It's going to be high 70s. So it's chances are that if you planted this, it would open up for you and look beautiful. And again, 50% off, 20 bucks. Let's see what else we can find on this clearance rack. Some Japanese maples, and I can tell you right now that these Japanese maples are perfectly fine. Yeah, they have some crispy leaves, but they also have some buds. Look at that. Let me see if I can get that clearer for you. Lots of buds. And even though it's a little bit fuzzy on screen, I just want to tell you that this would be an amazing deal to pick up one of these that are marked down on clearance just because they look a little unsightly. You can still see there's a lot of life in this tree. Just a few of the leaves probably got a little scorched on a hot day, and maybe it didn't have enough water to keep it happy. But this is the quintessential front lawn landscape Japanese maple that has this beautiful red foliage. It is the bloodgood, and it has eye-catching. It's an eye-catching accent tree, dramatic fall color. It likes full or part sun. Now these are priced at $164, so they would be $82, which for this size tree is pretty reasonable. Japanese maples are pretty pricey trees. So these here are hardy in zones 5 through 8 or down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. They slowly reach 15 to 20 feet tall and 15 feet wide. They have 3 of them on clearance. So this is, I would say, my pick of the day. My store has some sedums on clearance, and these are $8.98, so they would be about $4. And this variety is called Night Embers sedum, so it's a darker sedum. You can see it doesn't have any blooms on it, just the foliage. And then there's this one here that does have some blooms. It looks like a different variety. Let's see. Sedum is also a tough as nails plant. This one's called Strawberry Milkshake Sedum, and it's got really large leaves. Sedums are like succulents, so they hold a lot of moisture in their leaves, which means they're pretty drought tolerant. So they don't like a ton of water. They like a soil that leans dry and lots of sun. In fact, if they get too much water, they start to flop in the center. But that's on clearance, $4. Perennial, tough as nails. Put it in the ground this year, would look beautiful next year. And let's see what zone this one is. See, down to zone 3 or 30 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 30. Gets to be 20 to 24 inches in height, 30 to 36 inches in width. And here is a 9 bark that's on clearance. And this actually will show you what I was talking about, because these leaves are quite a bit smaller than that one that we looked at by First Editions. See that? So this is a Monrovia 9 bark. And let's see what variety it is. So you see how it's pretty crispy down here? So you can see that this plant went through a little bit of stress, but it's still alive because it has a bunch of foliage on top that looks healthy and some new growth coming in. See? So I would not be afraid to buy this and plant it in my garden. And what's beautiful about 9 barks is they have this dark foliage and these really beautiful clusters of blooms. Look at that. So this one's called Little Joker, which means it's probably dwarf or a smaller variety. It was $44.98, so it'd be 50% off at about $22.50. And the Little Joker 9 bark gets to be, let's see, it's hardy in zones 4 through 8 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Moderate growing, reaching 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. So that's another good clearance find. Some sugar tip Rose of Sharon. I actually planted one of these in my garden recently, and what's beautiful about this Rose of Sharon is that not only does it have variegated foliage, it has these really beautiful roughly double petaled pink blooms. They almost look like a rose. Look at that. So this Rose of Sharon is the sugar tip, and it's a beautiful variegated Rose of Sharon. What's great about these is that you'll get that late summer, early fall color with this shrub. Mine bloomed for me towards the end of August. It is hardy in zones 5 through 9 or down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. They get to be 5 to 6 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide. So kind of vase shaped. And they're seedless, which is a great feature because a lot of the older varieties of Rose of Sharon drop their seeds and they create a bunch of seedlings, so it can become a little bit invasive. So that's a great feature of this one, is that it's seedless. And these are $39.98, which means they would be $20, which is awesome for this 3-gallon Rose of Sharon. And here's a shrub that I actually purchased a few weeks back for full price. It's a St. John's wort, and this one is called the Floral Berry Rosé St. John's wort. And what I loved about this one is that not only does it get these really pretty, dainty yellow blooms, it had the most beautiful pink berries when I bought it, which now they have, gone over the berries, but you still have you can see where they were. They're a different color now. But this shrub is also multi-season interest. It comes on with those berries late in the season, early fall. So it says buttery yellow flowers produce clusters of lovely summer berries on well-branched, rust-resistant plants. Fuss-free deciduous shrub. So this will lose its foliage in the winter. That's what deciduous means, in case you don't know. And it likes partial sun to full shade, water when top 2 inches of soil is dry. It blooms in summer, followed by berries in fall, and hardy in zones 5 through 9, and hardy down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 by 3. So I'm really excited to add this shrub to my garden. I think it's going to be really beautiful, and I paid $40 for it, $39.98, but now it is $20 at 50% off. And they have about a half a dozen of these here as well. So if you're in my area, come and grab it. And here is a cool product that I came across today. It is a winter shrub plant cover. I'm actually going to pick up that smaller one here for $14.99. It looks like they have a smaller one that measures 22 inches by 22 inches in length and 22 inches in height. So 22 by 22 by 22. And then a larger one that measures 28 by 28 by 30 tall. So if you have a shrub that maybe is just on the cusp of being hardy for your zone, you could try one of these winter shrub plant covers. So the larger one is $19.99 and the smaller one is $14.99. And I'm actually going to grab one of these smaller ones. I have a Chinese fringe flower in my garden that is rated to a zone 7, but I garden in a zone 6, which is one zone colder. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this one up to offer a little bit of winter protection to that shrub in hopes that it makes it through the winter for me. So I thought this was a really cool product and that I would share. And some hydrangeas, and fall is still a perfect time to get these in the ground. The soil is still warm and workable, and they'll have enough time to start putting out some roots before next season, and then they will be beautiful for you next year. So the varieties that I have here are the proven winners, and this one here is the Quick Fire Fab. And the Quick Fire Fab, I have the traditional Quick Fire in my garden, and it has a more open panicle, where the Quick Fire Fab has been bred to have stronger stems, which even the traditional Quick Fire I find pretty sturdy, and more blooms, which is wonderful. Look at that. It's more full. It has definitely more blooms on it. And the Quick Fire Fab, let's see the size on it. It gets this beautiful pink color. Now, something to note about the color changes on hydrangeas. If you are in warmer gardening zones, let's say a zone 7 and up, if you don't get cool evenings, your hydrangea might not go through all of these color changes. But here in the Northeast, in my zone 6, we do. So we're pretty lucky in that sense. The Quick Fire Fab is a panicle type hydrangea. And in general, panicle types can take more sun. So it says sun exposure is sun and part shade. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. They get to be 6 to 8 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. And they're also early blooming and cold hardy. Look at the color on that. Gorgeous. They start off a creamy white, then they get pink, And then they almost look like this gorgeous shade of like a dark, deep pink, almost red. Really pretty. So this one here is a 2-gallon container for $28.98. The Limelight Prime, and so the Limelight is another beautiful panicle hydrangea. The Prime is an improved variety of the Limelight. It's been bred again for stronger stems and more full flowers, which even the traditional one has beautiful full panicles. And I believe they also are a little bit earlier blooming. Yeah, that's what it says here. Hydrangea is even better than the original, stronger stems, earlier blooms, and slightly smaller size. And these look like they get 4 to 6 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet wide. Hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. And they like sun or part shade. I have the Little Limelight hydrangea, and they handle sun like a champ. They are beautiful. And these are also a 2-gallon for $28.98. And the Pinky Winky, which is also a really pretty open panicle type hydrangea. You can see this is the style of this one. Has just blooms kind of on the tips. Here's one that's has a little more bloom on it. Also pretty sturdy stems. It has like a dark stem, a dark red stem. And look at those blooms. They almost have like an ombre effect. They're like cone shaped, and they start pink at the bottom, then lighter pink in the center, and then a white towards the top. Really pretty. And the Pinky Winky Panicle Hydrangea is, let's see, it's a sun hydrangea or part shade, hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, and they get to be 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. Beautiful. And these here are, let's see how much. I believe they're all the same price. So they are $28.98 for a 2-gallon. Here's a traditional Limelight. So let's see the size on this one. So the traditional Limelight gets to be 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. And the Limelight Prime gets to be 4 to 6 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. So there's a comparison on those two. Well, that brings us to the end of the tour today at Lowe's. And here's what I'm picking up. I'm getting my garden assistant a new tool belt. I am going to pick up one of these winter plant shrub covers to offer my Chinese fringe flower some winter protection. And I'm going to be mixing up some potting mix for my houseplants, which is what I start doing in the winter. We do indoor gardening with houseplants. So some vermiculite, some coconut coir, and some perlite. So I hope that you've enjoyed checking out the inventory as it stands at the end of September at Lowe's. As always, thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.